your financial results is to change your money what? Thermostat, otherwise known as your money blueprint. Does that make sense to you? All right, excellent. Now, who can tell me one of the simplest ways to make change? Decide one. What else? Yes, become aware of it. Good, good. Yeah, someone said marry rich. That's good. That's close. That's good. Obviously, one of the easiest ways to make a change is to model. What is it? Model people who have blueprints set for high levels of success. High levels of success, yes? And those people have a name. They're called rich people. And so one of the things we're going to do in the second part of the program here is talk just a little bit about how rich people actually think quite differently than most other people. But before we do that, we have to take a little stretch, so please stand up. All right, raising your arms nice and high. I want to hear a big, big groan. Let me hear you. Oh, good job. And this way, oh, louder. And the other way, oh. And backwards, oh. And forward. Oh. Give somebody a double high five and say, you're awesome. And have a seat, have a seat. All right, let's get into some of these things that are lots of fun. So, the first way that rich people think quite differently than most poor and middle class people, and when I say poor and middle class, I mean the mentality more than necessarily the result. Of course, it depends on that, yes? All right, so let's go this one. Rich people believe what? I create, one more time, twice as loud. I create my life. And most poor and middle class people, what do they believe? Life happens to me, life happens to me. If you want to create real wealth, it is imperative to believe that you are at the steering wheel of your life. You have to believe that you are the one who creates your success, you are the one who creating your mediocrity, and you are the one creating any financial struggle. Consciously or unconsciously is still you. But instead of taking full responsibility for what happens to them in their life, most people, well, they play the role of the what? The victim. Now, you can always tell a victim because they leave 3 indelible clues. And we're going to go over these right now. But before we do, I want you to realize that I do fully understand that what we're about to talk about here has nothing to do with anyone in this particular room. But just in case you know someone who should have been here, make sure you bring them next time. Yes? All right. So the first thing they do is what? They blame. That's right. They blame the economy. They blame their type of business. They blame the stock market. They blame the real estate market. They blame the city they live in. They blame the taxes. They blame the government. They blame their employer. They blame their employees. They blame their manager. They blame customer service. They blame their partner. They blame their upline. They blame their downline. They blame their husband. They blame their wife. And of course, everybody wants to blame their parents for something. Or the next thing they do is they do what? Thank you. They justify their situation by saying something like, well, you know, money's not that important. Let me ask you a question. If you said that your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend wasn't that important, would they be around for very long? I don't think so, and neither would what? You know, neither would money. And people come up to me in my major seminars all the time, and they'll walk up and they'll say something like that. They'll say, well, you know, Harv, money's not that important. And I'll go, you're broke, aren't you? And they'll go, well, right now I'm a little short. No, not right now, always. You've always been broke, yes or yes. And they go, of course they're broke. Of course they're broke. If you didn't think having a motorcycle was important, would you buy one? Would you have one? Of course not. If you don't think having a pet parrot is important, would you buy one? Would you have one? Of course not. If you don't think money's important, would you have any? Of course not. You know, you can actually dazzle your friends with this information. The next time your friend comes up to you and says something lame like that, here's what I want you to do. I want you to roll your eyes up into here and look up into the heavens and put your hands up here on your forehead and go, you're broke. And they're going to go, how did you know? And you're going to go, what else do you want to know? That'll be $50, please, and you'll have a whole new business. Of course they're broke. Let me just say this for the record. Anybody who says money is not important doesn't have any. True or true? All right, now, the third one here is absolutely imperative. What's it say, please? Complain. Let me say this right now. Complaining is the absolute worst possible thing you could do for your health or your wealth. The worst. Why? Well, one of our other programs is called the Wizard Training. What kind of training? And that's all about how do you manifest what you want with elegance and joy versus a lot of struggle. And the way to do that is using universal principles. And so you can be in alignment with the laws of nature instead of fighting against them. Does that make sense? All right. And one of those principles I'm sure you heard of, and it says this. I want you to repeat it. It says, what I focus on expands. Let me hear you. What I focus on expands. One more time. What I focus on expands. Tell somebody else, please. Excellent. Now, here it is. Let me ask you a question. When you are complaining, what are you focusing on? What's right with your life or what's wrong with your life? And since what you focus on expands, what are you now going to get more of? What's right with your life or what's wrong with your life? Absolutely, you're going to get more of what's wrong with your life. When you are complaining, you are actually attracting crap into your life. When you are complaining, you turn into this big, giant crap magnet. And have you ever heard that complainers, they usually say the same thing, say, well, of course I complain. Look how crappy my life is. And now you know better, so you can say, no, it's because you complain that your life is so crappy. Shut up and don't stand near me. So I'm going to give you some homework. Are you willing? An action plan. Now, here's what I want you to do. For 7 days, how long? No complaining. Not out here and not in here. And when you can do that for 7 days, I promise miracles will occur for you. And it's got to be a whole 7 days. Why? Because you still might have some, residual crap coming to you from before, right? Because crap doesn't travel at the speed of light, It travels at the speed of crap, and it's really slow. So it has to be a whole 7 days. Are you willing? All right, good job. Now, here's the thing you have to understand. Here's the secret. Are you ready for the secret? No, you're not ready. Are you ready for the secret? All right. Lean forward. Hands on your ears. Let's see them. Okay, here we go. Ready? There's no such thing as a really rich victim. Yet being a victim definitely has its rewards, doesn't it? What's the big reward people get out of being a victim? That's right, they get attention. Is attention important to most people? It's the most important thing to most people. Why? Because when we were infants, we made a mistake, and a big one, almost all of us. And what we did is we equated attention with love for the purposes of survival. But they're not the same at all. Does that make any sense? And because of that mistake, most of us really don't even know about true love. We know about what's called ego love, meaning we love another person for what they do for us versus who they are, having nothing to do with us. And worse than that, we love ourselves for what we do for us. In other words, when we're good, we love ourselves. And when we're bad, we don't love ourselves. True or true? Okay? And that's the biggest problem we have with most people today. And let me say this again, that at the 3-day Million Dollar Mind Intensive, and I know a lot of you have been there, one of the blessings we have is this ability to be able to disconnect those two so that you truly love another person for who they are, which means you can truly love yourself for who you are and accept yourself the way you are right this moment. Good or good? Good. And that's another blessing that we have. And so, as I said, there's no such thing as a really rich victim. So in order to stay a victim and get their attention, these people make darn sure they never get what? Rich. So here's a choice. You have a choice. You can be a victim or you can be rich, but you can't be both. You have to choose. And let me say this right now, and I hate to be so graphic about it, but we came here to learn, yes? Yes. All right. So everybody go like this with your finger. Put it over here. Watch. Every time you blame or justify or complain, you are slitting your financial throat and your happiness throat as well. And people, well, if they want to be around you, there's something wrong with them too. So it's time to acknowledge the fact that you create everything that's in your life, you create everything that's not in your life, and everything in between. You create your wealth, you create your non-wealth, you created your exact financial situation that you're in right now. Now that's a good thing to know, isn't it? Because if you create it, you can discreate it. And you can create something else. Yes? All right, please stand up for the declaration. Put your hand on your heart. I create the exact level of my financial success.
I create the exact level of my financial success.
Again.
I create the exact level of my financial success.
One more time, twice as loud.
I create the exact level of my financial success.
Turn to somebody, look them in the eye, give them a high five, and say, you have a millionaire mind. And have a seat. Good job. All right, here's another one. This is very important. Now, what do we do when something's very important that's coming up? We do a drum roll. Ready? Let's hear it. Let me hear it. Good job. Rich people play the money game to what?
Win.
And most poor and middle class people play what? Not to lose. Not to lose. Oh my goodness. Most people actually play the money game on defense versus offense. Let me ask you your opinion here. Again, in sports or any game you play strictly on defense, tell me, what are your chances of actually winning that game? How many people say pretty slim and none? And what are your chances of winning the game big? Impossible. True? And that's the way most people play the money game on defense versus offense. You know, their primary concern for a lot of people is survival and security. You know, so what is your goal? What's your objective? What's your true intention? For a lot of people, their primary intention is to have enough to pay the bills. I just want enough to pay the bills. On time would be a miracle. Or I just want to get by. Or look, I just want to earn a decent living. And due to the power of intention, that's exactly what you're going to get and not a dime more. Some people know this quite well, yes? Or you have middle class people, and middle class people, what's their big intention? They just want to be what? Comfortable. You know, it's so important to them, we're going to write it 2 times. So there's comfortable, and then there's this word. What's this word? And we all know comfortable leads to rich, yes? Yes? Yeah, and that's not my experience. Let me say this right now, just for the record, in my experience. Comfortable and rich are planets apart. Planets apart. What you need to do and who you have to be comfortable is a whole different world than who you have to be and what you have to do to get rich. Is that clear at all? Is that really clear? I hope you get it. Because I would say that's one of the number one issues with most people sitting in the room right now. Your goal is to be comfortable. Let me say this right now. If your goal is to be comfortable, you will never get rich. Never. On the other hand, if your goal is to get rich, you're going to end up mighty comfortable. So here's the thought. If you shoot for the stars, you're at least going to hit the moon. Most people don't even shoot for the ceiling in their house, and they wonder what the problem is. All right, here's what I want you to do. Another action. Are you willing to take the actions? All right, practice. Practice makes permanent. So tonight, when you get home, tomorrow morning, I want you, either yourself or with your team, to create a strategy. Create a what? Strategy. To help 10 times the number of people you're helping right now. Whatever business you're in, whatever job situation you're in, I want you to help 10 times as many people. Who can tell me why? Exactly, because that's how you get paid. One of the things we do in our programs is we have certain definitions. And the definition we use of a business person or even in a job is, listen closely, a person who solves problems for people at a profit or for pay. Say that with me. A person who solves problems for people for profit or for pay. Good or good? So what's your job? This is what? Solve problems. And you get paid accordingly. Meaning that if you go out there to make money, what do? But if you go out there to solve problems, and if you go out there to solve 10 times the problems you're solving now, there's a good chance you're going to get how much more money? 10 times. Does that make sense? Because that's what delivering value is all about. It's about solving. Let me put it this way. If you're not solving a problem, I guarantee you're not getting paid. People say, well, Harv, how do I make more money? Wrong question. The better question is, how do I help more people? How do I help 10 times the people? And that's going to take a little strategy. And for a lot of you, it's going to take a little more leverage, a little more systemizing, a little more being based on results versus time. Does that make any sense? Yes or yes? All right, good job. So, please stand up for the declaration. Good exercise, yes. Hands on your heart. My goal is to become a multi-millionaire and more. Let me hear you. Again. Again. And nothing less will do. Let's make a high five and say, you have a millionaire mind. Question. In the last one, why did I ask you to add on and nothing less will do? Listen closely. This could be the most important words you hear all night. Are you ready? What you settle for is what you get. Let me say it again. What you settle for is what you get. If you look at your life right now, the results of your life is exactly what you've settled for. You understand what I'm saying? People walk into a job situation or a business. They walk into a job and they're in a job interview and the interviewer says, "Well, what's your salary expectations?" And they go, $250,000 a year. And the guy goes, "What? This job pays $30,000. Really? So find me another job that pays me $250,000. See, if you are only willing to do what it takes to earn $250,000 a year, that's all you'll accept. And you will keep on hunting and searching and creating the strategy until you get there. But if you are willing to take $30,000 and be comfortable and get by, that's it. You're done. Does that make any sense at all? Yes. What you settle for is what you get. Say, what I settle for is what I get. Tell somebody else, please. Good job. All right, let's go to the next one here. This one here is a simple one and really short. Listen closely. Rich people always think the word what? Both. And most everybody else thinks what? Either or. Either or. As in, either I can be rich or I can be spiritual. Either I can be rich or I can be good and kind. Either I can be rich or I can be generous. Either I can be rich or I can have my health. Either I can be rich or I can have time for my family. Either I can have money or I can have love. Either or, either or. All that is called scarcity thinking. What kind of thinking? Scarcity thinking. And the answer to all of those is what? Both. Both. Listen. Listen. You're smart enough. You're intelligent enough. And you are creative enough to create a strategy that works for you in your life. And if it's not working on day one, you readjust it until it's working on day two. The answer is what? Both. What is it? Both. Both. Absolutely. You can be kind and generous and loving and spiritual and compassionate and really, really rich. Good or good? Let me ask you a question. How many of you ever heard the saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too? This, for my money, that is the absolute stupidest saying I've ever heard in my whole life. The all-time dumbest, the hall of shame, all right? You know, in my book, Secrets to the Millionaire Mind, I talk about this a little bit. And we give a lot of what's called wealth principles in the book. I want to read you this one. Rich people believe you can have your cake and eat it too. Middle class people believe cake is too rich, so I'll only have a little piece. Poor people don't believe they deserve cake, so they order a donut, focus on the whole, and wonder why they have nothing. Stand up for the declaration, please. It goes like this. I can be kind, generous, and loving, and still be really, really rich. Again, I can be kind, generous, and loving, and still be really, really rich. One more time. I can be kind, generous, and loving, and still be really, really rich. Just my high five and say, you have a millionaire mind. All right, good job, guys. Excellent work. This one here is such an insidious one. It's like something in the back of most people's mind, but they never will say it out loud. And it's one of the biggest blockers of all the blockages of wealth. Are you ready? Yes. Rich and successful people admire and model. What's the two words? Admire other rich and successful people. And what do most everybody else do? They resent the heck out of them, yes or yes? Most poor and middle class people often look at other people's success with resentment or jealousy or envy, or they snip, they're so lucky, or they whisper naughty things under their breath. You have to realize something so simple, that if you view rich people as bad in any way, shape, or form, and you want to be a good person, then you can never be rich. You can never be rich. You can never be rich. So you have to practice. Say, I have to practice. So instead of resenting rich people, I want you to practice admiring rich people. I want you to practice blessing rich people. I want you to practice loving rich people. That way you unconsciously know that when you get rich, other people will what? They'll admire and bless and love you instead of resent the heck out of you. Much better for creating wealth. Yes or yes? Yes. You know, I want to share with you a philosophy that completely transformed my life. Are you willing to hear it? It's from the Huna philosophy. Where does Huna come from? Hawaii, thank you. And it simply says this. Bless that which you want. Say it with me. Bless that which you want. Bless that which you want. So what that means is this. If you see somebody with a beautiful home, bless that home and bless that person. If you see somebody with a beautiful car, bless that car and bless that person. If you see somebody with a beautiful family, bless that family and bless that person. If you see somebody with a beautiful, wonderful business, bless that business, bless that person. Why? Because anything that you negate, you can never have. Never. Does that make any sense? And you got to watch it. It's so quick, isn't it? It's so quick to do a little tinge of resentment, to negate them. And meanwhile, you know you can't have it after that. So, I have a little practice for you on this one. Next time you see somebody coming out of a limousine, I mean, someone who's got some money, obviously. Not some party kids with 48 people in the limo. Prom night! No, you know what I'm talking about. I want you to walk over to that person coming out of that limousine. I want you to shake their hand. And I want you to say, thank you. Thank you for being an excellent role model for me for creating success. Thank you for being such an excellent role